Hello and welcome to Pure Experiences live streams. We are reading the teachings of Ranjit Maharaj. Real happiness in this world, any living creature, whether man or animal, strives for happiness throughout life. Man is the only creature with the power to discriminate between right and wrong. However, he is not aware of what is real happiness. Real happiness is a medicine which cures misery and unhappiness. The deer who runs all day long after a mirage in search of water feels unlucky when the sun sets. Man also strives hard all life long for the elusive happiness and dies in misery. All human beings believe that they get happiness from other objects and persons, but that is not true. For example, a dog chews a bone so hard that his gums start bleeding, but he is satisfied by tasting his own blood. Happiness cannot be achieved by external objects or persons. The very fact that one looks outside for happiness shows that it is not real happiness. Why look outside at all? Real happiness lies within. One must derive pleasure only from within himself. The presence of the self is the only happiness. Very pithy lines, in just few lines, is telling you the secret of being happy. And the secret is rejecting the pursuit of pleasures that come from other sources other than you. If happiness is being derived out of something else other than you, then you will be dependent on that source of happiness, which means you are enslaved now to that source, whether it is an object, whether it is another person, whether they are achievements of intellectual kind or even spiritual matters. If your happiness is coming from something else and that source dries up, you will be miserable and you will look for some other source. And this is the pursuit of happiness for a common man who is ignorant of his own bliss, who is ignorant that he is the bliss, he is the source of the bliss. So we find something strange in this pursuit of happiness. Everything, every creature is looking for happiness, and they are looking for it somewhere in the experience. The nature of the experience is fleeting, changing, impermanence, illusion, and one can see that whatever comes from this kind of experience will be illusory, fleeting, temporary, will not last. There is no bliss in whatever comes out of any experience. It is our direct experience that when we get happiness from something, whether it's an object or other person, slowly the intensity of the happiness will start decaying. The more familiar you are with that object or that person, the less happy they will make you. And finally, it becomes very boring, and even it goes to a stage where it becomes painful. You do not really want it now. So this is the nature of the mind. It cannot be satisfied by external pleasures. It always wants more, It always wants something new. This kind of happiness, or you can call it a pleasure, is derived out of fulfillment of desires. It is not really happiness. Happiness is that unchanging background of bliss where you do not want anything. You are fully content with what is right now, right here, where there are no desires, or even if there are desires, you are happy if they get fulfilled, and you are happy if they do not get fulfilled and are replaced by some other desires. You are unaffected by the activity of the mind, the torment of desires. The desires are like a whiplash on the horse that is pulling the carriage. The harder you hit the horse, the faster it runs. And this is what the desires are doing. Some are very, very cruel desires. They won't let you sit peacefully for a moment. And even if you do not have such kind of desires, there are other people. They will make your life miserable. And even if you are not surrounded by such people, there is this society. You will need to struggle just to remain alive in the society. And even if you are not struggling, even if there is no outside pressures on you, there is no anxiety, there is no fear, this life, the human life, will appear empty. It will be a meaningless pursuit. Why am I living? You will start questioning. This is the spiritual kind of suffering, when the meaninglessness of the human existence drives the person crazy. Everything is fine, but there is no joy. It is because we are separated from ourselves. It is because we are ignorant of our spirit, which is totally blissful, which is bliss itself. There is no such thing as happiness, actually. There is only suffering. What is suffering? Suffering is forgetting this bliss that we already are. Because a desire arises out of some impressions that were on the mind because of some experiences. When the desire remains unfulfilled, it gives rise to suffering. It can be a desire to just stay alive. It can be a desire to avoid pain. It can be a desire to get our basic needs fulfilled, or it can be a desire for other pleasures, or it can be something really petty like a desire for entertainment, for having some adventures, because the life is very boring. The basic life of a human being is very, very boring. For animals, this is not the case. They are happy when they get a little bit of food and are protected well. That's all they need. But humans, they do not feel happy when the life is running smoothly. They need to do something more. That is our human nature, and it's not wrong. But if it is causing suffering, then the cause can be only ignorance, not the external factors. And this has happened to humans because of our intellect, superior intellect. We can solve the basic needs in like a few seconds. It is very easy for a human to survive. We grow our own food. We have no natural defenses, but we made the weapons and tools. And we have conquered this planet. The basic needs are very, very easy. Why are people still miserable? Why is there unhappiness everywhere? And that is because of ignorance. Once you have solved the life, then you need to do something. And because people are ignorant, they will do something stupid, like go and attack other people. Go, go and trouble somebody else and take their cows and buffaloes and abduct their wives, because the ordinary life is not giving them the pleasure. So people, the society in general, will make even a happy person unhappy because of the ignorance of the others. Everybody suffers. This is called greed. This is called pride. This is called violence. This is human nature, the lower nature. If you subtract these things, isn't it bliss? Isn't it totally happiness? Hasn't Mother Nature provided everything that you need to live a happy life? Yes, but it is boring. So why don't you do something good then? Why are you causing misery? People have turned even knowledge into misery. Yes, the science is such a great thing, but people are using it to make weapons and bombs and kill people like in millions. Yes, the industries are a miracle. We get all the gadgets. But the greed is making them produce so much and consume so much that they are turning this whole planet into a garbage can. They are destroying it. That is greed. Why is there greed? Ignorance. They do not know that they are everything already. The self is everything already. Or they do not know that these objects that apparently give them happiness are nothing. They are empty. There is a momentary satisfaction of desires, and that appears as a reward in the mind. The mind rewards itself. Look, you have achieved something. That is what they think is happiness. And once the reward is gone, which takes a few seconds, another desire appears, and it is like whiplash again, and the creature runs again. That man runs again to fulfill that desire, and by hook or crook or by any means, he wants to get that happiness back which he has lost. This is a behavior that even is lower than animals. Although I've seen animals also do that. it is not, we cannot blame only humans. It is a tendency of the mind actually. Not human, not animal, not and the gods. It is all minds. Only a yogi, only a spiritual seeker is free from this, because they know what is mind, because they know what am I, and they know the difference between the activity of the mind and the bliss that is me. Nobody else knows this. Yes, we do not expect the animals to know that they are totally innocent and whatever they do is like robotic, mechanical in nature. But only humans have this intellect, intelligence. They can differentiate what is right, what is wrong, which means what should be done to be happy and what should not be done. Unfortunately, very few handful of people have this kind of discrimination. Here Ranjit Maharaj says that man is the only creature with the power to discriminate between right and wrong. However, he is not aware of what is real happiness. That is what I am describing here. Even though we have the potential to know, how to make ourselves and others happy, it is covered up by ignorance. How is it possible in the information age, when with the very sophisticated education system and affluence and highly intelligent people that are ruling you? I'm just joking, but in spite of all these things, how come there is ignorance? And how come there is ignorance of such a fundamental thing that, you know, how to be happy, how to live a very happy and good life? Why is this kind of basic knowledge absent from our society? And you will say that I'm just you know, sounding like an old broken record, but I need to repeat it again. The society is in ignorance. They are all ignorant. They do not know. And please do not expect others to make you happy or to teach you how to be happy. You will need to learn it yourself. Usually the suffering is a very good teacher. When you suffer, and then one day you know that it does not work. The objects are not giving me happiness. People are not giving me happiness. And the problem is in me. The problem is too much greed, too much pride, and this animalistic, lowly tendency to get more and more and more. Does that mean I should not be prosperous? Does that mean I should not have a good status in the society? Or does that mean I should not marry and have children and, provide for them? Actually, this is again ignorance. If happiness is not coming from these activities, it should not mean that you will not do that. Happiness is an expression. Happiness is expressed in our activities. If you are happy and you do all these things, then the happiness is not going to disappear. It will be expressed. It will be a spreading of happiness among everyone. If you have a giving attitude, if you are happy yourself, you are going to make others happy. If you are miserable within, you will make everybody miserable. You can see this. The people who are miserable, they are responsible for the suffering of others. Although that's not true, we are ourselves finally responsible for our suffering. If somebody is making you miserable, then it is your mistake that you are in contact with that kind of person. Ultimately, it is our own ignorance. He is able to make you suffer only because you have some attachment there, because you have some dependency on that person or that government or that country or that religion or a partner or your own child. It can be anything which is outside you. The real happiness comes when you are independent, when you depend only on yourself for your happiness. And it starts by financial independence. Make your life such that you do not have to beg for food or for money or for anything else, security, shelter from other people. That will cut down 90% of your problems. You will be happy. Most of the time for a modern man, the problem is financial dependency. There are too many people and they are all fighting for resources. So it naturally produces suffering. It cannot, it cannot, it is not a easy life these days. So as soon as you become dependent on something for your basic needs, that is a guarantee that you will be miserable. You will spend your life like this, as a slave. And even if you have a lot, this slavery will keep you miserable. So it starts at the root. It starts at the survival. Make your survival independent of others as much as possible. And that is a big subject in itself, so I'm not going to go more in those details, because we have discussed this many times. And after that comes the emotional independence. Do not let other people to drive your happiness and sadness. Do not give the key of your happiness to somebody else. Even if you trust that person, because they are people, they are not rocks, they are not machines, they change, and they will actually end up making you miserable. The final is the intellectual independence. Know yourself. Do not let others to manipulate you. Do not let others tell you what is true, what is false, how you should behave and how you should not. I have seen people are so much slaves of others that they even do not know what kind of clothes to wear unless somebody else tells them. They are looking for approval. Oh, that advertisement on the TV says that I should wear this. And they run to the market and buy that thing, however costly it is. They spend their hard earned money and then they get that kind of clothing. Why? Somebody else needs to tell them what to wear, what kind of clothing they should wear. They do not have this common sense. And I've seen in countries like India, where the temperature is always 30-40 degrees centigrades, people are wearing Western kind of clothing like they are living in Ice Age. Suited, booted, socks, gloves, and the neck is tied. And then they need AC to cool them down. Why do they do that? There is not enough intelligence there to wear even their clothes according to the weather. Somebody has told them that you should be dressed like this, and then people will respect you. And they do that mindlessly. And I can understand that a village idiot, if he does something like this, you can understand highly educated people, people with master's degree, people at the high positions in government or whatever, professors. They are copying this, behavior from others. They do not have even you see, if they know that this is stupid, I should not copy others mindlessly. Even if they know this, they are too coward to implement their own preference. They're bound by others. They're enslaved by the will of others. Oh, what will people think if I go in very light Indian clothes, t-shirt and a trouser and open sleepers? What will people think? What will happen to my reputation if I do not dress like a British ruler? And this mentality is everywhere, not only in India. People like to show off. They want approval of others. That means slave of others. And it is not that they are making themselves happy. They are just curing their own fears. That's all. And it is not that others will be happy. The others will laugh at you. You become a joker for them. If that is what you mean by spreading happiness, then good luck. Anyway, that was kind of a small story, joke. Do not try to find happiness in approval. Do not find happiness in slavery. Do not be dependent on others emotionally, financially, intellectually. If you do not do all these things, you do not become independent from every aspect of what is a human, then you will not know the happiness. Eventually, the happiness will start by becoming aware of what is happening, what your mind is doing, what kind of behavior it is producing. Is it producing misery? Is it producing suffering? How will you know if you're not aware? How will you know if there is darkness? Yes, initially somebody needs to tell you. Initially, your guru will be the one who will awaken this inner awareness, this light in you. That is the job of the guru, isn't it? Guru means remover of darkness. That is the literal meaning of the word guru. He will light the lamp in you. After that, you will need to implement this. You will need to make it your lifestyle to become aware of everything. Look what your mind is doing. Is it pushing you into some kind of stupid behavior that produces suffering for yourself and others? Become aware of that. That awareness is like a higher intelligence. It automatically corrects the mind. It automatically gives you the key to happiness. Oh, people are a source of misery and I'll stay away from them. Now, this is again stupidity, you see. You don't need to stay away from them. You only need to shield yourself from them. And then let them bake in the light of your awareness. Slowly they will become aware themselves. You don't need to totally disregard the society. You need to become you need not change the society. You become the change yourself. And they will change whenever their time is right. You see, I was also something like this. You were also something like them. What happened? You changed. Did not wait for everybody else in the world to change and then I'll change. And now that is more than now that is not the really wise thing to do. The only person that you can change is yourself, nobody else. The only one who should be responsible for your happiness is yourself, nobody else. And then once you get back the keys to happiness, don't let others to steal those keys. Keep the treasure of happiness to yourself. Do not let the outside conditions make you happy or unhappy. That is the steady mind. That is the still mind, not affected by anything. It is the only bliss. The bliss does not mean party all night. Eat like a pig and drink like a hippo. That is not happiness. That is idiotic. Happiness is stillness, bliss, no worries, no fears. The mind is silent like a lake, reflecting whatever is. Then you will find the sun of awareness is reflected in such a peaceful, blissful mind. You will find that it is not the mind, it is I who is happy. I am happiness actually. So I mentioned the Guru, and there is a section on Master. How can you know when you have found a master? There is no test or statistics. What is written in the scriptures should be experienced by you. A master says, "This is salt." Books also describe salt. Put it in your mouth and see for yourself if it is salty. What the master says, you must experience. You can find out only by tasting. When the master teaches you, you can get the experience. Nothing is impossible in the world. You are he. So, what is impossible? You don't understand this. You don't take it to heart. Due to identification with body and mind, you say that you are not perfect. Everything disappears in deep sleep. So, why can you not go to the end of yourself? From where does this power arise? Find the source, and that is yourself. One can understand the final reality if the master gives you the right direction. If the address is wrong, you cannot reach the destination. The master should be perfect. Only then he can show you the way to reality. If you have full faith in the master, he will take you to the right place. And the master is everywhere. He is never away from you. You and he are one. All want to be a master. Even between two boys, there is always one who will be the master of the other. This is the nature of man. If you experience for yourself what the master says, if you can put your own stamp on it, then it is true. Otherwise, separation between master and aspirant remains. In truth, there is no duality between them. So the question of fear does not exist. When that is fully satisfied and there is the feeling that nothing remains to be acquired in the world, then one feels completely at peace. That satisfaction comes to you. One should experience for himself and then speak. Otherwise, one should keep quiet. The master does nothing. Try to understand that a realized being has done nothing in his life. He sees the world as nothing. You have forgotten yourself and take everything as true. So the master only reminds you that you are the self. Thinking that the master has a form is only ignorance, I tell you. When you accept that what he tells you, then you are always with him. You have to realize yourself at the cost of yourself. You have to die to yourself before you can attain reality. That is real appreciation of the master. Faith is required up until understanding. Only afterwards, no faith is also required. Suppose you have got 60 lakhs, 6 million francs in the bank, and I say, keep faith. Is there any meaning in it? You say, no, I know I have got it. Once you understand, once the clear-cut understanding comes, then even faith is not required. But to have faith, the ego should be surrendered. The small baby has so much faith in the mother, so the mother does everything for him. Before he cries, she gives him milk and everything. Suppose the mother falls with her child. When she gets up, she first sees that her child is not hurt. In the same way, the master is also like that. When one has got the faith, he knows. All the aspirants' misunderstandings and doubts are cleared by him. You have to know yourself only. You only represent or misrepresent yourself. If that understanding doesn't come, then the ego will remain. There is a saying in India, with one piece of turmeric, one cannot open a grocer's shop. Many people talk of God even though they do not know God. Why? Because they are always moving in the opposite direction from Him. If you want to go to the mountains in the north and you go to the south, how can you reach the mountains? Where is God and who is God? One should know He is not outside, but within you. Thoughts are naturally directed towards the outside. They should turn towards the self with the help of the Master. Find out who you are when all thoughts end. He is there. Forget everything that you have learned up till now, and then He is there. In this way, one is at peace. Peace comes from within ourselves. Christ says, know thyself and you will know the world. When you go to the very end of yourself by returning to the source, the question of peace does not arise. Nothing remains and you are yourself. It is essential to have a real master in order to understand the truth. As a child goes to school to eventually learn a trade, a disciple must learn to understand the subject that his master teaches. In the beginning, you must go to school in order to understand. Then, by the grace of the master, you will awaken to your own self and know that everything is a dream. The master is the greatest illusion because all that he says with full here and frankness is false, but the false words that the master tells you can make you reach reality. Speaker and listener are both false. If one teaches reality, then they become realized. Faith in the master and dedication to yourself is essential. There is no difference between the master, the self, and who you are. The master takes you to that place where there is no one to understand anything. There is no knowledge nor ignorance, and so understanding has no meaning. Let everything appear within that. But say that is not true. There is no need to change anything, but it doesn't exist. When you forget the sense of the world, which is nonsense, then you will know the real sense, and reality opens up to you. After liberation, one naturally worships his master. Once you have understood what is left for you to do, there is nothing to do except pray to the one who has shown you reality. You feel so thankful knowing that the master is in your heart. You and he are one. As long as you are still in the body, you should worship him. Worshipping him keeps your mind in the reality and out of the illusion. The master says that you are reality, and if you accept it, then you are always with the master. Surrender your ego to the master. You have to abandon the individual ego to be with him, the self. What he is, he makes you. So again, very beautifully explained. Probably I need not add anything to this. But the main points here are, which should be remembered always, is that do not blindly believe your master. He is saying, what the master says, you must experience. Taste the salt. Do not simply accept, oh, it is salty. Yes, master said this, so it must be salty. This is blind belief. This is not spiritual attitude. This is superstition or religion of some kind. Blind faith. By simply believing the words of the master, you do not become a master yourself. You will remain the ignorant student. Books are something which are written by masters. Now you need to test whatever is written in the book. Is it true? Does it really work? This is the attitude of a spiritual seeker. However, there is little bit of faith that is required, because if you do not open your mind even this much to hear what the master has to say, or you do not have this much interest to read that book to find out what it says, then you will never progress beyond what is already stuffed in your mind by this society. There needs to be an open-minded skepticism to progress. It is like walking on a very tight rope. Do not fall. You become too skeptic, too close-minded, you will fall. You become too open and accept everything uncritically, you will fall. What can you accept? How to stay on the rope? Experience that which is being told. Through your own experience, you will find out who is your master. Isn't it? If your experience matches that of the master, he is your master. You can trust him now. He is your guru. If the master can do it, he is also an ordinary man, ordinary person. Why can't you? Some people have this kind of delusion that, oh, this master, they are divine beings, Gautam Buddha and all these people, I cannot become like them. No, they are not anything special. They are just like you and me. The only difference is they searched and you are not searching. They had the courage. You don't. If they can, you can. It's not a big deal. Your mind is your prison. Nobody else is stopping you. Finally, you will see that the master and you are one, because the master is also talking from the same place at which you are hearing. This is the connection. The connection is of oneness. If the master is not talking from that place, then he is not your master. If he is merely reciting a book, some random book, he is telling you that, look, this is truth because it's written in the book and I know this language and therefore it must be true. Something like this, illogical brainwashing, then he is not your master. He must talk from his heart, from his experience. That must resonate in your heart, should be your experience. That makes him your master. That forms the connection. Otherwise not. This is the spiritual connection, you see. Once this connection is formed, it will remain forever, because that in which the connection is eternal. And again, one more point, a good point is the master does nothing. Please do not depend on the master. He is not your boss. He is not like your mother or father. He will show you the way and then you will need to walk through. You will need to walk on that way. He will open the door and you need to get through. He cannot do anything. What can this body mind do? And honestly, the master has no interest in you. He does not really bother whether anybody gets enlightened or anybody understands anything that he is saying. You see, somebody has said that the bird sings because the bird has a song. The bird is not singing to please the audience somewhere in this deep jungle. The master does nothing. He does not want to do anything. The only pleasure here is this connection that I mentioned. Oh, look, I understood this. Do you understand? Yes, sir, I do. And that is the pleasure. That is the only pleasure the master gets. He does not get anything. If the master is asking you for money and other kinds of favors, then he is not your master. He is the other kind of master who has enslaved you. The master and slave relation is there. It is not love. So just like he says, faith is required up till understanding only. If you have $1 million in the bank, do you need to have faith that I am rich? No, you are already rich. You don't need to blindly believe it. It is your own experience. You don't need faith when there is knowledge. Initially, the faith may be required. Otherwise, you won't even listen to what the master has to say. So this faith is something natural. I can call it grace. Sometimes it happens that somebody is inclined to listen. That is faith. So he says, with one piece of turmeric, one cannot open a grocer's shop. Some people know a little bit and they become a guru. You will find the guru shops are open everywhere. All they have is a piece of turmeric. What will you get there? Be aware of such gurus. They are not gurus, they are just entrepreneurs, to be politically correct. So eventually you will encounter the truth, but the master makes it very, very fast. In few minutes, few days, few months, or one lifetime, depending on your tendencies, depending on the kind of mind you have, depending on the impurities there are. He makes it very, very fast. The master is the super highway to enlightenment. You can do it without master also. Just like you can learn any language on your own, you don't need to go to school and enroll yourself in the course and all. You can do your own effort. It is possible. Read this book, read that book, do this experiment, that experiment, have this. If you are very talented, you don't need a master. But that will take a long time. If you are so talented and you get a real master, then I'm guaranteeing you that it will take only minutes. Your questions are going to vanish in few minutes. There, you must have heard these stories, you see. Some people just see the master You encounter the Guru Darshan, and all the questions they disappear somehow. It is a very supernatural kind of event. Why is that? Because the master never leaves you. He is there with you since many, many lifetimes. And probably now this is the tipping point. Today you saw him and you remembered everything. The soul never forgets. It is very highly emotional event for some people. Although very, very rare. Usually it happens that you see a master and you don't believe him. He looks like a very crazy, out there thing, person who is speaking some kind of nonsense. This is what an educated modern person thinks. So it takes a long time to realize the truth because not enough open mindedness there, not enough interest, or the interest is diverted into something else, into the worldly things, the petty stuff that appears more attractive to an ordinary person. So remember, suffering is a blessing in disguise. Suffering takes you to the master. You start looking for somebody to guide you only when you're lost. And he says that after liberation, one naturally worships the master. Now, this is the relation that is going to last even after liberation. What is liberation? Liberation is freedom from bondage, bondage of all kinds. You're not bound to objects, you're not bound to people, relatives, you're not bound to this body also. You're not bound to this mind also, whatever is this jeev, the causal stuff. But you are bound to Guru. Guru is you. I mean, how can you get rid of yourself? So he is your own form, and you have a reverence, you have a respect for this being who is your own form, and this will remain. This is permanent. It looks like worship, isn't it? Many people do worship their masters. It is not a religious worship, because when a religious person worships a deity, he is looking for favors. Please make my life better. Please cure my diseases. Please give me a beautiful wife. Please make me the president of these this country. This country, which is a garbage bin. I want to rule it because that's what makes me happy. Please make me that. This is the demand of the worshipper to the deity. A master has given you everything. The master is totally naked. He has nothing actually. The only one who can give you everything is the Guru. He keeps nothing. If he is keeping something with him, oh, pay me this much and then I'll liberate you. He is not your Guru then. Get out of there as soon as possible. Only a Guru will give you everything that he has. He is without body. He is so naked. And if you already have everything, what are you going to demand from your master? This worship is purest kind of worship. This is only love. I don't want anything from you, but I love you. This is the only love. This is the true love. Those who give everything to the others, they are in real love. This will be your master. So he says, there is nothing to do except pray to the one who has shown you the reality. To be thankful, knowing that the Master is in your heart, because you and he are one. So here we stop today, and we are going to read the teachings of Ranjit Maharaj on death in our next live stream. Thank you very much for listening. Have a nice weekend.